Hey everyone, Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, your host for Sales and Cigars. I have an episode today with a young man. I'm not going to tell you his age. We kind of talk about it in the podcast, but a really well-spoken, experienced young man who knows a lot about sales, a lot about marketing at a young age, and it's really impressive. Somebody that's got some grit and some hustle in him, and he's offering value to people. So Jon Weberg is the guest today. He has skills around lead generation and helping people build out a process. So go grab a cocktail, grab a cigar, strap in for another fun episode of Sales and Cigars. So, Jon, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes here to jump on the podcast. I'm excited for the conversation.
Thank you as well, and I appreciate you very much having me on. I got my drink as you got your cigar.
All right, so you got to talk about the cup. I mean, it's a little different, kind of Viking-ish. So, tell us the story there.
So, I'm from Minnesota, as we talked about. So, that kind of has a little bit of northern Norwegian / heritage to it.
Viking.
And yes, Viking. I also got three more of these suckers. I got them for my brother. It was my birthday in April, last April, obviously. And I'm still a proponent, even though I'm getting a little bit older. I'm not older, but I'm 24. I still love to celebrate birthdays like it's no tomorrow. So I gathered together a huge party together, said, let's all go out, let's all have a good time. And he happened to get me these drinking mugs. And instead of drinking out of the bar's glasses, I drank out of these all night, and it was fantastic.
Awesome. So you're 24 years old. Is that what I just heard you say?
Yes, 24 years old. I got started when I was 13, technically kind of in the industry. I wasn't making money back then, but my dad slowly got me integrated into this stuff.
Awesome. So there's one more birthday you have to look forward to where there's something meaningful happen, right? 18, you get to vote, you get to register for things. 21, you get to drink in most states. At 25, your insurance rates go down.
Oh, well, I will take that absolutely that's wonderful. I didn't actually know that, but that's awesome.
It's a little known useless fact that I've just shared. So, but it gives you, but at 26 to the rest, it's,
nothing.
What you make
nothing
of it.
Beyond that. Just getting older.
There's nothing, there's nothing institutional that will help you along the way. So,
right. Isn't it 40 you can become president? Maybe I'll do that.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. If you're not a naturalized citizen, if you're a natural citizen, you can become president at is it 40 or 42?
It might be 42. You might be right. I think.
I'll have to look that up. I'll put that in the show notes.
Perfect.
But that's okay. 25, and then you got another one. So
let's go.
Keep your nose clean, and actually, you don't need to keep your nose clean. You can still be president. We have plenty of those.
I mean, true, very true.
So let me ask. Let's start off with talking a little bit about your approach to help a business owner optimize their business. Talk about if that's lead gen or if it's overall in terms of how they approach sales and marketing. Kind of looking for your insight there.
For sure. So the three main areas that I usually look at, because it seems like businesses need the most help, is one, lead generation and advertising. Most businesses either aren't doing it, they're only doing outbound, which is fine if you're doing it correctly, or they're doing very little of it. Number two is the sales process. So from after they generate the lead, are they bringing them through an actual process to book a call? How is that structured? The actual sales call, how is that structured? Are they upselling? Are they downselling? Are they reselling? What are they doing in their entire sales process to close a customer and then to keep reselling that customer for the life of them? Because often people get a buyer and they go, great, I got a buyer, but the rest of your profits remain in what else you do with them still, because they still have problems that need solving. They still have issues and solutions they're looking for. Your job is to continually offer those, of course. And then follow-up. Follow-up is, for me, especially in sales, follow-up is the king of all profitability, I believe, because without it, you don't people don't understand in sales and business, your job is not to sell. Your job is to build an actual relationship with the customer, at least from my mind, from what I've done.
You're building a relationship, building rapport, building trust, and I think if you're coming from the spot of trying to help somebody, if that's really your goal, and you're not outcome based and transaction based, if you're really trying to figure out if can I help this person or this company, that kind of clears the brush out of the way and allows you to move forward. And then to your last point, right, about the lifetime value of a customer and being able to maintain that long-term relationship, that helps too.
Entirely. And something that Frank Kern says, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Frank Kern at all. Frank Kern says if you actually try to help people, they'll actually buy some of the stuff you offer. Very simple saying, but it's entirely true. And I think salespeople and just business people in general don't realize how much people actually sense your vibe of you caring for them or actually trying to help them. Most people sense it almost immediately. I know for myself, if I get in a sales call that I didn't even think was a sales call, but within a few seconds of the person speaking, I'm like, oh, this is a sales call. You're going to go through a pitch. You're going to go through your cycle. I know what you're actually going to go through, what you're going to say. You might as well not even keep talking. Versus, I believe in, I'm not a big sales script person.
Because the prospect doesn't have a script. It sounds contrived. It sounds
Right.
Oh, it's just awful. It's awful.
Right, it does. It's not natural. So I believe in very much of for any sales, just any conversation, it's almost like you're a doctor. You're almost just listening and then prescribing. Okay, based upon what you've told me, it sounds like you don't have a one-click order bump. It sounds like you don't have really any upsells. You have only one upsell, but we could add a few more, right? Do you think that would help you? They agree. Okay, great. And then that's the kind of way I do it is you get yeses and ask them questions where they say yes. And if they don't, then you have to find something else that you can help them with. But yeah, it's very almost like you're a doctor prescribing. From what you've told me, your broken knee is not going to be healed from you eating peanut butter. It's going to be, you're going to need rest. You're going to need this. You're going to need that in order to make it right. And that is much more enjoyable, let alone I think it converts higher, but it's much more enjoyable as a salesperson actually talking with someone like a normal human being.
Building, like you said, building a relationship with it and having some empathy for what you're trying to accomplish and curiosity. And I think skepticism is important because sometimes you got to call people out a little bit. But to your doctor's analogy, they don't just go in and throw a prescription or, jump up on the table, we'll operate this afternoon. There's some analysis, there's some questions that they ask, there's some tests that they run. And then sometimes the underlying problem is not the obvious thing. It's not the knee, it could be the hip.
Especially in business, I found, especially in sales, that is most of the time what you find. I've talked to many people on sales calls, and they're like, well, I have this going on and this going on. You ask me a few questions, you kind of narrow down what they actually do have going on in their business, and it's like, one, you probably have a lot more issues going on in your business than you realize, and two, it's not what you think it is. A lot of the sales calls I've been on, people think it's mainly their ads. And I ask them questions, I'm like, well, how much do you follow up? I never email my list ever. Well, that's where all of your customers are going to be generated from because follow-up is responsible for the majority of sales. So yeah, you're a doctor that learns about your client and then you end up usually finding out, well, you have a lot more issues. You haven't been taking care of your health for a lot longer than you think you have.
Right. Well, there's you can't just prescribe something without really understanding. And if somebody did, a doctor or a salesperson or any professional, lawyer, it's malpractice. And
Right.
salespeople, man, can you imagine that if salespeople had to carry malpractice insurance for, bullshitting themselves or
almost all of them would be gone.
Yeah, which probably wouldn't be a terrible thing because
It wouldn't be.
our analysis. I'm a partner with Objective Management Group, and so we have 30 years and 2.4 million, evaluations and assessments of salespeople. So we got a pretty good database.
Right.
And there's like 5 or 6%, varies a little bit, 5 or 6% of elite salespeople. These people you want them on your team. They're the A-plus players. They're producers. They do most things well. And then you have another like 14% or so that are good, right? They could get better, solid B plus, A minus players. They're solid people. They can become leaders. And then you've got a group that's average, and then 50%, 49%, you don't want on your team, right? They're
No,
just
you wouldn't.
dredge.
Right.
It's and those are the people we're talking about that
Mhm.
give the rest of us a bad name, make people uncomfortable, that use the scripts, that don't ask enough questions, that just go right
Yep.
to the pitch. I watched people they have a great product, right? They're software people for a very
Mhm.
specific niche, large audience. But when I watched one of them sales reps do quote unquote discovery,
Mhm.
they went right in from "Hi, how are you?" to "We have a half hour, so let me jump right into the demo."
Oh, right. So
And it's like,
I didn't ask for you to jump me into the demo. I actually want to learn how this is actually going to help me.
well, what are the outcomes that you're going to provide that's going to save me time, help me make money or save money or
Right.
mitigate my risk? And they have all the answers, right? They have a better mousetrap,
Yep.
just that they don't know how to position it. And
Right.
it's really, I don't know how you got so wise in 24 years. Maybe your father had some big piece of that. Be an interesting story to get into one day, um, but you're saying things that most salespeople who've been in the business for 20 years don't get.
Right. No, I think it is. I think it's because almost like normal common sense things, like nowadays it seems like no one has common sense. It's the same thing with sales or in business. I think people don't know what they don't know, and they don't spend the actual time learning to educate themselves what actually works, and they also don't spend the time practicing that. So the reason why and I appreciate that comment, the reason why I usually sound decently intelligent most of the time, not always, sometimes I say some pretty stupid stuff, as most people do, is because when I first got into this, I realized I'm really young. Most people will never take me seriously in the industry because automatically my age, how I speak, how I look, you just aren't like. If I saw you in a sales call versus me, I'm buying from you, just because of how you present yourself. So I decided I need to learn so much and become so educated that what I say will remove all doubt that I do not know or that I am not in the right place at the right time.
Credibility.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
credibility
building
through actually knowing what you're talking about, right? And
and being a lifelong learner too. I would think that you're constantly out there trying to sharpen your saw, get better at variety of skill sets.
variety, usually optimization, conversion, sales, marketing, and I also do it because, like you said earlier, I think it's a huge disappointment. The more I get into the industry, the more I see the smoke and mirrors, the more I see the salespeople and the businesses and the marketers and the people that, one, put on a front, two, aren't actually doing as well as they say they're doing, and three, don't teach the things they say they are that good at as well as you think they do. And I see that the more and more. A really quick example of this, I won't say her name because I don't want to get sued. When I was 18, I was still doing business then, just kind of still getting started, actually making some money, but I was spending way too much. So I needed an influx of some kind of money. I was paying for everything. I was moved out, my parents' place. I had my own place. I had a girlfriend. I was paying for all the bills, and I traveled. Got to travel for business, go to events, speak, yada yada. And I realized, oh, I need some money now, like now. Like I had like 50, 60 bucks in my account. I'm like, shit. So I found this lady who I shall not name, who was selling from stage a package of training and her mindset training and different things for $15,000 from stage. So I naturally think, oh, you're selling this for $15,000. This must be the holy grail of what you're doing. You must have amazing, amazing stuff. So I talk with her and I convince her and persuade her, hey, let me work for you. I'll do it really cheaply. Just give me some kind of money and I'll get to work on creating some sales pages, for example. I go in. She goes as well, hey, you get access to all of my education as well. So you can go in there and learn. I'm sure there's tons you're going to learn in there. I go into this $15,000 back office. It is hot garbage. It is literally Like I could have taught what was in that back office, which was it was extensive, but it was not actually in depth and valuable. I could have taught it in a couple hours of being with someone one on one, and
Sure.
it was $15,000. So that was one of my very first experiences among many now, where I've seen someone's back office, or I've seen what someone's doing, or heard through a variety of sources. That I'm like, there's so much. I get why some people look down on sales and marketing in the industry, and I want to learn to be able to put into the marketplace things that are actually good, practices that are actually good, so people don't think so badly of what we do.
Yeah, it's called integrity, right? And being able to provide value with an ROI. And that's part of, to me, to get there, you have to do good discovery and qualify people and really make sure that they're a good fit and you can actually help them. But, to your point, there are tons of folks who have, I don't know, snake oil is what it used to be called in the uh, years ago. And, and that makes it harder for people that actually have a product that is valuable, that can move the needle for a company, whether it be big or small. It's harder for you to get people over that hump because they've been, burned so many times.
Earn so much. Yeah, that's a big story too. Is you hear about, especially in the agency world, people get burned. I got burned by agency. We
Oh,
were
wow.
getting into. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's. See, isn't that weird? Everyone's been burned by an agency, and everyone is wary of agencies. So, we spent in SEO $40,000 in like a 6 month period just on SEO services. They didn't do or produce any metric at all. In SEO, you have access to all your metrics through Google Search Console. You can see your clicks every day. You can see every metric. Nothing.
Unless they're clicking on your bank account to send an ACH, those clicks don't make a
Don't
hole.
matter.
I had a lady call me. Actually, she didn't call me. I should rephrase that because that was the point of the story. She was sending me emails on how she could help me set appointments with their prowess of making, cold calls for people.
Right, right.
So I got a couple of emails. I read them, just deleted them, read it, deleted it. And the third one, it was like, I responded like, do you realize that you're telling me that you can make cold calls and create outcomes for me, but you haven't called me once? You could perfectly demonstrate
Wow.
what you're good at by picking up the phone.
Right.
And at that point, never got another email
Wow.
and never got a phone call. I mean, it
Right.
was purely fraud. I mean, it is sort of like it was a fake.
Right.
Um, and tons of people like, oh, I don't have to make cold calls. Cool, great, all right, boom, and they sign up for it. There's no easy answers. People got to do the work. There's some tricks. There's some things that work better than others. Those things change on a regular basis.
Yep.
When I'm with a client or a prospect, they're like, what's the best way to prospect? And I'm like, you know what? None of it works and all of it works. It's a function
Literally.
of who your market is, who you're trying to reach, how you're doing it. You got to do it all. But to your point about follow up, it could take 3 to 12 times of following up with people to get their attention. And if you don't, most people stop after two. Most salespeople stop after two. So, showing up gets business. I mean, in my
Right.
life,
Just doing the bare minimum.
but doing it well.
Of course, yeah, doing it well, and that's why I think, as well. For example, follow up, not just in like sales as what we do, but even follow up in the email follow up. Um, Most people don't follow up. Yeah, you hear the average salesperson follows up 2 times. Salespeople probably do. The average company probably follows up maybe with 2, 3 emails, not even calls. That's it. So that's where, for me, follow up needs to be every single day or every other day, especially with an email list, an email list especially, every single day. If you're calling someone, maybe every other day, a little bit less frequently, because it's a lot more intrusive versus an actual email. But still, until they say no, Or even if this is what most salespeople don't really, especially for like agencies. Say you have a client or a lead you're working with, and your lead tells you, know what, you get them on even on a sales call. Say you get them on a sales call. They say, you know what, not going to work out, too expensive. That person isn't. You should not be done working with that person. They're still a customer or can become one. For example, agencies who run advertising. I don't understand why more agencies. Why would you not have a course that's cheaper than your actual management? So every single client who says you're too expensive, I'd rather just do it myself instead of you doing it. I want to learn how. Oh, great, that's perfect. That's what you actually want. I actually have that for you. You still collect money from the customer, and you still actually serve the customer.
And you maintain a relationship. You're adding value. You can take them up that ladder, right? Yep. And keep working with them. And some people might stay on one step of that ladder forever, and some people might move themselves up as you build more credibility. So that's all great advice. Let's talk about the business and who's your ideal, like, your avatar, the people that you could really move the needle. Who's that person? What's that company look like? So if they're listening, they can, hey, John, I'm the guy you described on the podcast.
Right. It would definitely be just like any agency, because with agencies, there are so many different things you can basically do to almost literally instantly increase their profits. It is mind blowing. Just around pricing and how to structure pricing. When you first give pricing, for example, if you're an agency listening to this and you normally offer agency services for $3,000 a month, say $5,000 a month every single time from now on. Now, this is your new pricing. If they say yes, great. The customer is still getting what they want, and you're able to see, oh, I can actually increase my pricing and people will still buy from me. If they say no, decrease your pricing to what will meet their affordability.
Match it up with the services provided.
Right, of course. And that is one small thing. Just by increasing your pricing, when I work with Frank Kern's agency, they did the exact same thing. Their agency services were normally $3,000 a month. The agency got maxed out. They're like, John, I was their head sales consultant. They're like, we can only have so many people. Our new price is $5,000. So I would tell people, oh, now it's $5,000, and they would still buy, or I would downsell them to a different product or service, which is another thing I can do with agencies almost instantly. Is every no, like we're talking about, every no is no longer a customer or lead. It's someone who you need to fit with a better either affordability or something else that meets their needs and wants. And then that's not even including people who do buy your agency services, for example. I don't understand why most agencies, they offer their services. They have no consultant for the rest of the business. Like if I was an agency, I would have a dedicated consultant for an X amount of charge a month or a one-time cost to upsell them to, because most agencies believe that this $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month price point is my top. This is what I want. No, you can upsell even more from that, or have something worth even more from that, such as like an in-house consultant.
But they need to have the ability to build out other programs, courses, other products, and
yes.
And sometimes folks get, not just agencies but consultancies. You sort of start to put these blinders on and don't really understand what your market needs and then how people buy. Not everybody buys the same way. So
to me, it almost seems like when businesses get into their mode, they start being less creative almost. Like you're saying, with the blinders on, they're less creative. I just want to fix this one problem. I'm not seeing all this other opportunity to increase profitability, upsell, downsell, to segment my customers, to do all these other things which is why they go to people like us, because we can see from outside there's all this opportunity in front of you to use and take.
And you're adding value, and you're not really changing your focus as much as you are just changing your offerings to address the same group of people. So with an agency, is there a size of an agency? Is there a deficiency in the agency, or like where they might not have good sales approach, or they're really creative but they don't have what's the weak link?
The weak link with most agencies, one is their sales, their actual sales calls, and their sales cycles. Again, most sales, I believe, like we've talked about, is I think they are very too much. I need to bring you through a report. I need to bring you through my XYZ guideline that I have laid out. There's zero actual human communication going on.
Yep.
Zero. That's a huge issue. And also, they're not prescribing. They're not actually learning about your issues. They're just telling you what your issues are, and you're either going along with it or you're not. That's
you're going to fit into this box over here,
right.
And if you don't fit into that box, I'm going to try to force you into the box.
Yep.
And that's a pretty common. I've seen it with agencies, but I think it's a pretty common process where we don't listen as salespeople. We don't really listen and engage with people and really build that credibility and trust, because we should be listening to to your prospect, because they're going to tell you why they're going to buy if you listen.
Right, and that's what I think salespeople get wrong. Most salespeople, not all of them, not the good ones, is most people believe that if I speak enough and tell them enough things, then they will trust me. Then I will be seen as authority. When it's actually the other way around. By listening and hearing what they're saying, the person who's telling you those things realizes, oh, one, this person actually cares. Two, by asking me questions to clarify and help me understand my own issues and problems, they're helping me actually identify what I actually need to do. So it's a much more high converting and genuine process, because you're showing authority by caring and actually helping yourself and the client find out what the actual problems are, the actual solutions are, what is the best for them. And then they go, oh, this person cares. This person actually knows what they're talking about. I've had that many times when I've actually been on sales calls, is people go, oh, you're not just selling me, pitching me. I'm like, that's not my job. I know you're used to that, but that's not my job. My job is to see what you have going on and see if I can even help you in the first place. And if I can help you, maybe there are some things I could do that would possibly be able to
right.
help you.
And we're not sure yet, because we haven't asked enough questions. And that's probably a big takeaway from all that is you create credibility not by talking, but by asking questions that cause that person to think differently, to make them, push them to realize that it's a bigger problem or it's a different kind of problem, the tough questions. That's how we create credibility, not by talking. And if you could just buy a cork and stick it in salespeople's mouths.
That would work much better, to stop talking for once and just listen. It's
crazy. So John, this is a great conversation. I think that we're going to have in the show notes all the ways to contact you and some of your the value you bring to the audience. We'll have those links in the show notes. So I'd like to kind of wrap this up with, Sales and Cigars is the podcast. Do you have a relationship with cigars, or is there sometimes people tell me a story? I'm kind of curious.
Yes, I do. I have a very good story. We got my dad's friend addicted to them, and I as well. On occasion, from with the boys. I think it's just a with the boys thing or your own thing. I'll smoke a cigar or two. But what happened was, we were in Minneapolis, and I forgot why we were there. I think we were picking up furniture for my friend, and it was me, my friend Logan, his dad Leland, and one of his dad's friends, and we were out drinking, having a good time, and we were I think 22, 23, but we still didn't want his dad to know we were smoking cigars. I don't know why it's a thing. You're just you don't want your parents thinking you're doing anything that isn't what you're supposed to do.
It's a respect thing.
Right. So we were at the hotel, but we were outside the hotel in the parking lot smoking a few cigars. His dad comes over and goes, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" We're like, shit. We go, "Well, we're having a few cigars." He goes, "Well, hand me one of those. Let me see what it's like." Takes a few puffs. It's not too bad. Takes a few puffs. Ever since then, he chain smokes these suckers nonstop. So
wow.
It's not a good thing, but we accidentally kind of got him addicted. He manages it a little better now, but when he's in the back garage, he has a very nice low back garage man pad. Mm-hmm. Extremely sick. He has a barber chair back there and all the drinks you want. It's all lit up. It's surround sound, yada, yada. And he's going to town. And ever since we showed him those few cigars, he loves them. They're
Do you remember what kind of cigar you shared with him?
Yeah, they're Swishers. They're a cheap. They come in like a 2-pack.
Yeah, I know Swishers. Yeah,
Yeah,
Swishers
so
sweet.
they're Swishers. They're basic. They're clean. They're not too.
Got a little filter on them.
Yeah. They're not. I like them. They're not too bad. I'm not a huge cigar guy, but I do like them on occasion with the boys. If I drink enough, I'm like, I could use a cigar right now. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's nice.
To me, it's two things, right? It's a social thing that
Right.
when I used to play golf, it was it was something that we did on the golf course because you're outside. There's usually having some sort of libation. You're with friends, right?
Right.
So that all kind of just for me kind of blends together. And then I also, to me, there's a contemplative nature of a cigar. So after a long day or I'm trying to work through something, I'll grab a tablet or, a notebook, a pen and a cigar, and I'll just work through an issue.
Right.
I'll work through doing something that's creative. I'll write a blog post.
Right.
But for me that
Calming.
it does, it's calming, but to me it frees up the mind.
Right.
Because I've got my hands occupied, right? I got a cigar and I got a pen, and subconsciously my mind now is free to focus on that creative endeavor or the thing I'm trying to think through. So it's a more than one thing. I built a cigar room in my barn
Nice.
years ago because my wife was pretty adamant that we're not having cigar room in the house because you'll never make it, completely locked down. She's right.
She's right.
So, she's like, why don't you just build a room in the barn? And it's a pole barn, right? So I just took a quarter of the barn. I got this little 15 by 16 foot cigar room, all fitted out, sort of like your buddy's father. But that's where I am now, right? My office, when I started this consultancy, I just created my office out here. I've been out here not doing as much traveling as I used to because I got this thing.
Right.
And I can, sit here and smoke a cigar and not create a problem for anybody. It's just to me, it's a both social and stoic, for yourself. So
It is. I agree. It's good. I'm cool with one every once in a while. For me, it's calming. It's tranquil. Yeah, you're gonna that's why I have a pen in my hand. It almost it takes your mind off of your body and you're focused. I do like it a lot.
It's a thing. Even when you're with your friends, it gives you a chance to focus on your friends and have that conversation. So,
right.
So John, this is a great conversation. I appreciate you sharing the stories and your insights.
Thank you.
You're gonna be a scary guy in a couple of decades with all the experience and knowledge that you're going to bring to the table.
Oh, I got some things I'm building. I got some big plans.
So we'll stay in touch. People will be able to reach out to you from every one of your social media outlets, and we'll have your link to your YouTube channel in there where people can go kind of take advantage of some of your opportunities. So again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you as well, and thank you for having me on. Everyone have an absolutely amazing day.
Get your copy of Walter Crosby's new book, The 7 Critical Mistakes CEOs Make with Their Sales Organization That Stop the Company from Scaling. Available now at Amazon.com. Thank you for listening to Sales and Cigars with Walter Crosby of Helix Sales Development. For more on sales and cigars, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Sales and Cigars, produced by thepodcastproshop.com.